Welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show. If you like data, today is your day. You've heard about going woke. I'm about to go full wonk on you. So I thought we'd just take a deep dive into a lot of different metrics in our market. And if you're trying to figure out where the market is and where it's been, then you'll probably really like this. If numbers bore you, I'm about to put you to sleep. So stick with me. I've got a lot of things to show you, and we're just going to go through a lot of the different metrics in our area: average sales price, what's going on, how many listings are there, is it up, is it down, and we should have a good time. Now, I track a 7-day moving average on the MLS every morning, and I got to say, this number kind of surprised me a little bit in that I didn't think our contracts would go much higher than 2,600 over a 7-day period, and we hit 3,000. And I'm like, ooh, just how wrong am I? So I put this red line here to show you where we're at, and we're still right at last year's numbers. So our sales number, while it did go up today, is not really climbing, and our new listings are starting to climb yet again. So I kind of stick by my premise that the first quarter of this year is going to be slow, and it is, and it's slow in transactional volume, except in the luxury market, and it's still doing okay, and it'll do okay so long as the stock market is rocking and rolling. Had a hiccup in the Nasdaq this week, but I don't think that's going to throw anybody off the boat. But here's where we're at: monthly median sales price. So you can see where we're rocking and rolling here now at 460,000 is the median sales price. That only goes to December. We're about the same going into January this year. Not a major change. It's really kind of been hanging around 450,000, 460 for quite some time, as you can see here. So we're not flying up or flying down. Here's the monthly average sales price per square foot. Kind of tells the whole story, but again, it rolls us back into January 2025. This here says November, so I spoke wrong. I looked at this number down here. November showed us at 286. Nothing earth-shattering there. Now, if we look at monthly average lease prices per square foot, this is kind of what we're seeing out there. They are coming down. Now, the multiple listing service really doesn't gather much in the way of rental prices, primarily because a lot of landlords they don't list their house on the MLS, either to the apartment complexes. So this is a very small sample, so it's not going to tell you a lot. Now, here's where it kind of gets curious for me, and that is we're looking at our average list price for square foot for current active listings, and you can see this line right here started on week one at $357 a square foot. And now it's $365. It's about $10 higher than we were at the end of the year. Now, seasonally, this tends to go up, and then it makes a correction. You get into March, it starts to come down, which usually surprises a lot of people because March is our spring season. But this, I think, and this is just my opinion, this illustrates the optimism that we always have in the beginning of the year, regardless of who the president is. We're optimistic that things are going to go well in January because, yay, here we go. So we price higher, and we're not disappointing. We are pricing higher. The result of that is the number of price changes are actually also going up. And if you see here, if you look at here, January 19th, we've had 9,407 price cuts. Well, how's that compared to last year? And we go to last year, we had 590. We have twice as many price reductions already in January than we did last year. That's got to tell you something. And we've had comments on the show where people have indeed said, yeah, nobody's looking at my house. But mixed inside of that commentary is, well, I don't really have to sell. I'm just seeing if I can sell. I mean, we'd like to cut back on our expenses. We'd like to downsize. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So there isn't this desperation out there. Now, I tried to do a little digging, and it was really kind of a moot point. But I said, well, what's going on in the condo market? There's not a whole lot of difference. You can see here that condo price reductions have spiked, but I add in single family homes, one doesn't jump out versus the other. So the condo market is not worse than single family housing. They're running in tandem. Cumulative days on market. This is continuing to climb. And it's also a symptom of here's January, we're 80 days right now. Well, where were we last year at this time? And if I go back to January, November, December, January was 78. So we're 2 days higher. And what happens here is you think 80 days, these are homes that were listed in November and they're still sitting on the market because November and December are slow. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. So we always end up with larger days on market in January and February than normal. They start to come back down. Homes listed in January tend to move before the end of February, except for maybe this year because interest rates. Active listings. I have been projecting that we're going to land somewhere around here, right by the big A, if we go up, and that'll be about 26,000, 27,000, just based on the current trend that we're seeing now. And if you look at it, we were 20,000, then 21,000, 22,000. That's a much faster clip than what we've been seeing. And so we're adding somewhere around 500 to 800 and sometimes 1,000 homes per week to our existing inventory. Normal for this market runs about 27,000 homes, but it's hard to use the word normal anymore as we dig out of this aggressive home pricing and home sales that we've had in 2020 and 2021. So we will see that it's not necessarily the number when we hit 27,000 that's going to have an impact. Is where is that number in relationship to how many contracts that we have? And we're looking at the average list price per square foot again for the active listings is still going up. They're lagging about a week. So this is only third weekend. We're 4 weeks. It'll go up again. And it does that. I know I sound like a broken record, but it'll start coming down as reality hits the sellers. But here's the one to watch carefully. And you're feeling this out there. And this is our contract ratio. It's declining. So it's in what we would call almost a cold market. If I were to take and zoom in here just a hair, show you what's going on. The cold market is right about here, and we're just about there. So it's not really rosy for sellers. Now there are certain neighborhoods that aren't doing too bad. Paradise Valley, Chandler, they're hanging in there. But it's what's interesting to me is this trend, and this trend is showing that homes are not going under contract at the rate that they were, and it's simply because of affordability. Sellers right now are not really aiding in affordability outside of seller contributions, which are they're averaging about 10,000. Let me see if I can pull that up here in a moment here. That it's seller paid closing costs, and here it is. 51% of the homes are offering some amount of seller concessions, and they're averaging about $10,000. So you can use that as a rate buy down. You can use that to help with closing costs, whatever you want. There are some limits on how much a seller can contribute towards closing costs, or how much you can use towards closing costs, but there isn't any limit on how much you can apply to a rate buy down. Now, speaking of rate buy downs, we're seeing aggressive rate buy downs with new construction. And that's helping people get in with a very low rate for 30 years. And they're throwing a lot of incentives at you as well. But let's really take a close stab at what that means. And because if you're buying, and now if you're going to stay put for a long time, that's going to help you. So they're going to buy down your interest rate. Some of them are, in the low fives right now. And they're going to contribute like $20,000 in incentives, help you with the yard, help you with things on the inside. And so now you're looking at the average rate buy down for them right now is running about $30,000. The average contribution in concessions and money to help you with your new home is another 20, 25,000. So there's 50 grand. Okay. So if you or buying a house for 550, in reality, it's if you went to sell it like the next day, you can't offer 35,000 in rate buy downs. You can't offer 25,000 in improvements and concessions. So you're at a $50,000 disadvantage right off the bat. Now you got to dig out of that hole going forward, because when you look at resale, you really have to look at resale and say, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. So when you look at new home construction, you better be digging in for the long term, because when you go to sell that house, you're up against everybody else getting all these incentives that you can't participate in. Hope that makes sense. Because we're seeing right now interest rates sitting here at about 7.07, and there's a meeting with the Feds tomorrow on what they're going to do for March, and it just looks like they're going to stay put. But even when we've seen moves by the Feds, it hasn't affected mortgage rates. It's the bond market and the buying and selling of 10-year treasuries. And they quite honestly don't believe that we have a handle on inflation yet, especially since you're hearing all this tariff talk. Oh, my goodness, what's that going to mean? So there's a very nervous atmosphere out there for the bond traders that just aren't comfortable with saying, well, we think rates are going to go down. They don't feel that inflation is tamped. And it's really interesting to see how the market moves just based on anticipation. We thought the CPI was going to come in at 2.8, and oh my goodness, it came in at 2.9. That little 0.1% is sometimes freaks people out. And that's the market that we're in. You saw what happened to the NASDAQ this week when China came out with their artificial intelligence that's available on the Apple store, for free. Everybody's like, oh, they're beating us. And so the stocks just got the living daylights beat out of them. That's the kind of year that we're going to be in. We're going to have these ups and downs. But right now, with the data that you've seen there in the Phoenix market, it's kind of steady as she goes, and it's slow. Like the video I had that came out the other day that said, live I did with Pat. It's not panic time. We're just slow, and it's gonna be slow. Are we going to see rates coming down? Most of the people out there betting on these numbers are saying, well, probably not, and probably not by much. And if we do see rates coming down, it'll be because there's something else going on in the economy, some kind of shock, and central bank's going to have to come in and lend us a hand and print some more money like they do every time there's something going on. They're not going to go on because the new president says, hey, Jerome, lower the rates. Sorry, pal, doesn't work there. And come on, you're a real estate developer. You know that. I just had to chuckle at that. It's like, okay, nice one. Now, there's a new service out here that I saw that I'm going to give credo to Dan Frio at the rate update. I think this is pretty cool. This is called optoutprescreen.com. You know how when you apply for a mortgage, those people, it automatically sells your contact information out on a list that other lenders can grab a hold of. If you've ever gone to lendingtree.com and put in your information, you notice how much your phone rings? It's just after 1 hour, your head's about to explode. Well, you can opt out. Optoutprescreen.com is the official consumer credit reporting industry website. It's free. I don't get a dime from this either. To accept and process requests from consumers to opt in or out from firm offers of credit or insurance. Have you gone and shopped for insurance and wow, your phone is exploding, your email's exploding? You go in here through this website, you may request to opt out from receiving firm offers for 5 years electronically through this website. This thing's a godsend as far as I'm concerned. You want to go look at something, and I've done that before. I've looked and go, well, let me go on this site. I'm going to look for some insurance, and I'll go on and I'll get a quote. And then for the next hour and the majority of the day, my phone just will not stop ringing. So I'm going to use this. I suggest you do too. It's nice to be able to just go to one source, have a conversation with a lender, input your data, see what it spits out, and not worry about just being inundated with somebody trying to say, hey, Rick, I got something better here for you. I'm okay shopping around when I want to shop around. And shopping around for mortgage rates, I'm just a big fan of getting a hold of a mortgage broker and say, you do the shopping for me. I don't have the time to look at 30 different lenders. And we're all used to clicking on things. I go to this website and click, oh, that's a good rate. Well, that's not your rate, folks. When you see something on one of the big portals on there and they give you that rate, that's not your rate. Your rate's based on you personally. What is your debt to income ratio? What is your credit score? What price range are you in? And how much down of a down payment are you going to make? That's your rate. That does not show up. Now you can look at a rate and it's going to say 6.5. You're going to go fabulous. And then you're going to apply for it and you're going to go in and then you're going to get the fees and go, where'd this fee come from? Oh, yes. Well, in order to get you that 6.5, we had to buy some points. Some of them don't tell you that up front. So you got to be careful. That's why I like going with mortgage brokers and saying, go shop for me. And they can have a conversation with you. Now, the downside is you're probably expecting an answer real quick. Get on the phone. That's why we kid Pat and go, Pat, what's my rate? What's my rate? You're not going to get it in 15 minutes. It's going to take some digging. He's going to have to pull some information for you. He'll do a soft pull on your credit, not a hard pull. Soft pull doesn't show up. And when you're shopping for mortgages, even a hard pull, you're allowed several different hard pulls before it really hits your credit score, unlike shopping for a car. If you're looking for a car loan and you get like 3 different quotes, you're going to see a ding on your credit. It's going to go down a little bit. Not with mortgages. So they recognize that people shop for different mortgages over a period of time. So when you look at that and you're shopping and you're trying to figure out what your rate is, give your lender time to really do a deep dive, because they're going to say, okay, here's his score, here's their credit, here's their debt to income ratio, here's how much they're putting down, here's what this lender's offering, and here's how many points. Here's this one, looking at about anywhere from 10 to 30 lenders. You can't get that done in 15 minutes. So I hope that helps everybody. I hope you appreciated doing a little bit of a deep dive in our market today. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email at rick@rickhelps.com. And more importantly, there's a link down below to sign up for my weekly newsletter. It comes out every Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and it gives you a short little snippet on what's going on in our market. No spam. It may end up in your spam folder, so check that if you've registered. Have any questions? Again, shoot me an email, rick@rickhelps.com. Take care.